Okay. So Nathan had a good idea of asking everybody to think about and share the haves and wants. What do you have and something you want, preferably real estate related, obviously. So we'll go around and I'll save Brian for last since he is our special guest for the evening. And do you want to let's go with Jason first.
I'm Jason Oliver. I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I actually live on the Georgia line to Chattanooga, Tennessee. But I do all my business and everything else in Chattanooga. So it's easy just to say I'm from Chattanooga. So I have a mid-size portfolio of single-family residents in North Georgia, and then portfolio got a little more for me to handle. So I ended up creating a property management company to handle each of those properties and stuff that I've got in North Georgia. So I wanted to scale. I've got 20 years of corporate America underneath my belt. And then I wanted to scale and kind of get larger. And that's when I joined Rod's group. I guess that's what I'm really kind of, my want is what I really want to do is just continue scaling what I currently have. And then me and Reggie and two others have kind of started a partnership and stuff. And we've been focusing on a buy box on doing syndication deals of larger properties and stuff. So that's me.
Cool. Thank you. Kristen, you want to go next?
Yes, I'm Kristen. I live here in Nashville, and I've invested in a couple of syndications. I'm doing some hard money lending. I'm a land flipper, but I'm really looking to invest in commercial, multifamily, or storage is what I'm currently looking for.
Thank you. Hey, Mike, it's your turn.
All right, Mike Molly, Cleveland, Tennessee. I spend my time in the W-2 at Whirlpool as a engineering manager, director type in the automation space. Been a licensed contractor for 18 or so years, done several, in the single family, done several builds and flips. Obviously looking to expand in multifamily. Also intrigued as I look at storage facilities, et cetera. As far as haves and wants, I have a lot. I'm blessed. I have a wife and 5 children, and our health, which is invaluable. But what do I want? I want to stop exchanging my time for money. So that's why we're all here, I suppose. And I think I took the easy, teed up answer there, but that is me in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Nathan, you want to go next?
Sure thing. So, Nathan Bush, I'm in Middle Tennessee over in Bedford County, Shelbyville, working a W-2 as well, trying to get away from that grind. I've been in industrial maintenance for going on 20 years now, pretty new to the real estate. I've been in Rod's program now for, it's going on 10 months, I guess. So, yeah, learning as much as I can. Haven't gotten any, deals as far as commercial or anything like that, but I'm looking at sourcing deals right now. If anybody's looking to buy around Tennessee, seeing what I could bring value.
Thanks, mate. Reggie.
Yeah, my name is Reggie Collins. I'm in Augusta, Georgia, and I worked in the nuclear power industry for 34 and a half years and retired a couple of years ago. And now I'm looking into real estate. I started listening to podcasts with Rod and joined that group. And like Jason said, we're partnering, looking for multifamily properties in the Chattanooga, Tennessee MSA. And I have a couple of limited partnership deals, 208 unit multifamily Savannah, a 900 storage unit in Kentucky, and also some oil and gas assets. So just glad to be a part of this group, and hopefully we'll be able to work on something and find something in Tennessee we can partner with.
That's great. Hey, I just realized you and Jason both have the same background.
What? How did that happen?
I, it's amazing.
That
You
is
guys need to
amazing.
work on like synchronized swimming next or something like
It's
that.
almost like we have our same names and stuff at the top too. How did that?
Oh, wow. Vessi, your turn.
All right, sorry, I joined a little bit late, so I'm gonna follow the order of the last three. If I miss anything, you just let me know. But Vessi Kapulian, former commercial lender turned real estate investor based in Los Angeles, California. And today I focus on apartments. Haven't jumped ship or jumped lanes like many of our colleagues are doing these days. So staying in the apartment space, focusing on capital attraction, and I do a ton of advisory work both with active and passive investors around the complexity of the due diligence process, as well as with family offices. Love Tennessee, would love to be able to find a property there, not at any cost, but love the market. So that's where I'm at.
Cool, thank you. So, as a reminder, what we're doing is we're doing name and we're doing where you're from and also doing have and want. What do you have and what do you want? Real estate related. All right, so next one we have Victoria.
Hey everybody, my name's Victoria and I am from the Los Angeles, California area. And I'm pretty much just getting started in what Tennessee's all about. Seems like everyone from California is moving to Tennessee, so I want to see what it's about. And so my want is to build a team or be part of a team. And my need is to find out more about Tennessee and surrounding areas.
Very good, thank you. So Alex, how do you pronounce it? Oh, Alexis?
Yeah, Alex is fine. It's my real name's Alexis, but Alex is fine. Yeah. All right.
Go ahead, it's your turn.
All right. Yeah. So my name's Alex Villarreal. I live here in the Huntsville, Alabama area, which isn't really Tennessee, but pretty close. We're not that far of a drive. Um, And right now I'm wholesaling right here in this area. I started my real estate journey this year. I'm a brand new warrior. I've only been in the warrior program for about 2 or 3 weeks now. So what I want right now is I want to find a team, be able to communicate with other warriors and network as much as possible. So I found out there was a warrior group here in Tennessee that I think they're the closest ones to me. So that's why I decided to jump on. So hope to meet all of you pretty soon.
Yeah. Hey, hey Alex, do you mind putting your contact information in the comment section?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Cool. Very cool. So my name is David Yao. I am here in Dixon, Tennessee, which is about 45 minutes west of Nashville. I've been a warrior for a little over a year and a half now. I focus primarily in underwriting. So in terms of haves and wants, um, recently I was talking to a warrior, and the subject of EMD came up, and it's like, you know what? That's an area that I do have ability in. So I just want to lay it out there to let you guys know. If you guys have deals that you need someone to put in EMD, please let me know, and be more than happy to take a look at uh, your deal and see if there's a way I can be part of it. You know, even above and beyond that, of course, but just anywhere I can help. So that's me. So we're going to have Brian introduce yourself and to the group. Brian is our special guest today. He is with SBN Commercial Real Estate Broker.
All right, thanks for having me, David. Appreciate it. So, and welcome to all of you that have joined. So, yeah, my name's Brian Truman. My wife and I own SVN Accel Commercial Real Estate here in Nashville. We also own a property management company, and we also own a business brokerage company. A little bit about myself. I spent 23 years in corporate America and defense contracting. Uh, Retired out of that, started a business brokerage here in Nashville from scratch in 2011. Grew it to be the largest one in Nashville by 2016. Had somebody approach me and say, "I want to buy your business." So I told them my business is always for sale for the right price. So I sold it to them and then went into real estate. So I've been into real estate for about the last almost 10 years now. And I do nothing but well, let me back up. As a brokerage, we have 17 agents. The way we work our team is everybody on all the agents on our team have a primary and a secondary segment that they work in. So for myself, I've spent the last 10 years, almost 10 years, doing nothing but helping people buy and sell multifamily. My kind of secondary is I find land for multifamily developers, those that people that build the 200 and 300 unit stuff here in Nashville. And David wanted me to tell you a little bit about, I have kind of a unique, interesting story of getting into the whole multifamily space. Um, and it was back in 2016. My wife and I were headed out Saturday before Christmas. We were going to dinner, and it's about 6:30 at night. And my phone rings, and you that live in California, uh, it was the call, and the area code was 310. So I was like, oh, okay. And in my days of doing defense work, I traveled all over the United States and all that stuff. So been to California many times and recognize that as, California, LA area. And I normally don't answer phone at that time anyway, especially, didn't have a name to it or anything else. But I went ahead and answered it, and it was a gentleman who said, and he said, "Hey, I got my properties for my 1031 exchange." Right. So remember, this is 6:30 at night, right? So he's telling me he's got until then at night or till midnight to identify his properties. I said, "Yeah, you are in a real pickle." And again, I was new into real estate myself, but I remembered that one of the guys I went through real estate school with had said that his stepfather owned 5 multifamily properties, and I told him I was going to be going into commercial and so forth. And so I told the guy, I was like, you know what, give me 15 minutes, I'll call you back. So I called this gentleman that I went to real estate school with, and I said, hey, you said your stepfather had 5 properties. Is there any of them that he'd be willing to, accept an offer on? And and he said, I don't know. Let me call. I'll call you back in 15. So about 5 minutes later, he actually called me back and he said, yeah, he's got 3 of them. And I said, well, can you text me the name of them, the address? And he said, absolutely. So he sent that to me. I called the guy in California and said, hey, I'm texting you 3 of these properties. So make a long story short, we put offers in on all 3, went under contract on them all right after New Year. This gentleman flew out, coming to his inspections, and I was like, yeah, I was like, you know what? I'll come pick you up at the airport. And he said, well, you'll have to come to the private airport because I don't fly commercial. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, well, who is this guy, Um, anyway, so I went and picked him up, his wife, the nanny, the video photographer, all this other stuff. Come to find out, he was Grant Cardone's right-hand man at that time, and so he also puts on a big event once a year. And so a few months later, he was hosting this event, and he asked us to come down, and he put me right on the front row next to Grant and Elena Cardone, several of the other speakers, and he told his rags to riches story and said, hey, I own I owned a single family, and then I decided to own a couple of quadplexes, and then Grant told me I needed to sell it all and I need to buy in Tennessee. So he said, so I bought in Tennessee. By the way, my Tennessee realtor's here. And so he's like, hey, Brian, where are you? Can you stand up? And he knew exactly where I was. He was looking way out in the audience, right? But this is all for show. But he had me stand up and he said, yeah, if anybody needs property in Tennessee, this is your guy, right? So I tell people that's the closest I ever became to feeling like a star of any sort because there was 1,500 people at this event, and when we went for lunch, I got mobbed by a lot of people. So I tell the story because I came back from that event with a long list of people to help, right? So my whole thing is I've never really hurt for you know people to help because all through this one gentleman. But that's how I got into doing nothing but multifamily, right? When I first got my license, I didn't know which segment I really wanted to dive into. Well, here you go. Here it is, right? So that's how I got started in it. I love it. I love multifamily. Um, David, his question of haves and wants. I've been in corporate America, did that gig, owned my own business, sold that. And so for me, I guess there's not a lot of haves. For me, the what I thoroughly enjoy doing, what I get up every single day to do is to help people create generational wealth through commercial real estate, i.e., really through, investing in multifamily. So that's what I do all day. It brings me joy to see people, grow their wealth, right? Not that I'm, you know, ultimately, you know, it's not that I'm a huge millionaire, but I've got enough to survive on. So I want to help everybody else reach that American dream and build their portfolio, build that generational wealth to where you have enough passive income that you can live what I call a life by design, right? You can, I've have I have some clients that were first time investors, right? That I have helped and put them on a plan that, within 6 to 8 years, they're out now like living this life by design. They've rented properties, their own home here. They spent the last 2 years or more out traveling the country and traveling the world, right? I'm still helping them buy or sell, but the point is, they've been able to quit their W-2s and live this life that I've wanted to help them get to, right? I mean, they have to do the hard work too, and we work as a team, but I love taking people, a lot of people we help are first time investors, right? First time into multifamily. I love that. So that's what I live for, every day, all day long. So,
Let me
Nathan,
cut in a little
I've
bit.
yeah,
Oh,
Nathan,
sorry.
I've sold 3 or 4 properties down in Shelbyville. I love Shelbyville, by the way. So
So let me cut in a little bit. You kind of alluded to it. So is multifamily your primary focus? So the, to expand upon that a little bit, like, can you let us know the areas that you're covering and the asset type? And also, since you own SVN, like, what does SVN cover?
yeah, great question. So I think Alex, you're down in Huntsville. There's an SVN office down in Huntsville. And then I think Jason, you're down in Chattanooga area. There's, SVN second story is down there as well, right? So they're partners with us. We work with them. We I've sold a number of properties down in Chattanooga, as well. So for us, we run all of Tennessee. Um, we run Kentucky, Alabama, really Birmingham North in Alabama, and then North Georgia, really Dalton North and down in Georgia, is kind of the territory. We're kind of moving into helping some folks in North and South Carolina now. We've just been asked to and that's all for multifamily. We have agents that specialize in hospitality. In hospitality, we go all across the country. And then in all the other segments, industrial, retail, office, all of that, we basically service about a 2-hour radius around Nashville. So, and then we sell, like I say, we sell more land than any other brokerage in all of Tennessee. So,
What is that like right now in terms of development? Is that leveling off, or are people pausing, or is it growing? Is it something that's worthwhile pursuing?
you mean land?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, land right now has been a little harder for people to find financing for. And so a lot of big developers, especially here in Nashville, that have come to Nashville. Most of those developers are not from Nashville, right? They're outside companies who come and build in Nashville. A lot of those have put a lot of their projects on pause. Now, within the last 2 weeks, we've started getting a lot of movement on land because the sentiment out there seems to be that okay, we think things are stabilizing a little bit, and so we're gonna get back involved in right now, and so we're seeing a lot of movement. We've seen a lot of movement probably in the last, I'd say, 2 months on the multifamily side from not only investors but from sellers who are now starting to take a look and go, okay, you know what? we think uh, we think we're getting to the point where we want to sell now, right? So last 2 months has been very very busy.
Okay.
So,
What's the price movement like? Is it moving up, down, or is it kind of stable?
the sellers have been getting a little more realistic on prices, which has been very very helpful. My worry, and so I think right now I think right now is a great time to buy, in my opinion, because I think we have about 8 months um, to where sellers are fairly realistic on price. And I think, okay, if we have a rate drop come September, followed by, they're predicting maybe four more, right? Um, and then my worry is then cap rates are going to start decompressing, compressing again, right? And so I really think, right now I'm seeing some of the best deals I've ever seen now. And I really think the next 8 months is going to be a great time to buy. That's just my opinion. So.
Okay, so does that cover, like, how vast does that cover? Like the whole state, and in terms
Yeah.
of across all asset type or certain types of asset?
Well, yeah, really for I think for multifamily, that really covers multifamily, right? Retail is yeah, if you look at it, so if you take, Nashville, going a couple hours out, I mean, if you want to talk numbers, retail, the vacancy, so you think in COVID, right? Everybody thought retail was dead. So that's not the case. Right now, retail, the vacancy in retail is 2%. So for those of you that um, are kind of new and trying to figure out, okay, what does that mean exactly? In commercial real estate, anything that's 4% or under in a vacancy is basically like zero, right? So the fact that industrial and retail, retail is like 2%, industrial's hovering 3, 4%. It's almost like zero, right? So it's very difficult to find. Obviously, office is the one that has been hurt, and struggling, but multifamily multifamily is great, like I say, and this is I think it's a great time to buy now. So
Richie, you
one
have
of the
your hand up.
things, one of the
Sorry.
and one of the things I was going to say too is to your group is um, as far as our office concerned, we don't advertise a ton of stuff out on LoopNet and Crexy, and a lot of those we're kind of known as the brokerage that has a lot of off-market properties. So we have a lot of our off-market stuff, right? So even our competition probably once a month they'll call me and say, "Okay, Brian, so what do you got?" Because they know we don't put out, a lot of our competitors list everything they have out there. We've just kind of chosen not necessarily to, per se to do that. And so, at the end here, I can give you my contact information, things like that. But, we tend to deal in a lot of off-market properties. From
Okay.
there, we have a lot of sellers that don't want to list their properties. They want to sell them, but they don't necessarily want to list it out there. So,
Okay, we're
yeah.
going to let Richie, he has his hand up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian, that was part of what my initial question was going to be around those great deals that you're seeing. Is it around the major MSAs like Nashville, Chattanooga, Memphis, or is it more in the secondary, tertiary markets
Yeah.
where you're seeing those deals?
Uh, that's a great question. And I'll tell you why I love that question is some of the better deals that I've seen too are in Clarksville, which is it's where Fort Campbell is and up there. But because they just and I'll tell you one of the reasons why is uh, City of Clarksville hired a third party company to come in and evaluate their housing, right? And they basically came in and said, you know what, you're about 4,000 units short of what you need for housing, here. And, Clarksville is about a 48% rental market, meaning 48% of the people live there rent. They don't buy. Obviously the base has, somewhat to do with that, but it's obviously it's growing really fast. And they're predicting in a few years it's actually going to be surpass Chattanooga in population. And so there's good deals to be had up there. But when it comes to tertiary markets, and I brought up, Nathan who lives in Shelbyville, one of the things that we do as a brokerage maybe makes us a little bit different than our competition too is like, a couple of years ago, I went and sat with the economic development director for the city of Shelbyville and said, "Hey, tell me what's coming, what's happening in the city, right?" Same with Tullahoma, just south of you, right? Some of those tertiary markets, and the reason is because when I first got into multifamily, my friends down in Chattanooga, I was trying to get people in here from Nashville to buy in Chattanooga when you can get it at 40 and 45 a door, you know, that's a pipe dream now, obviously. You're well over 100 a door, 120 pushing, up there now, right? And so that was kind of, the market of, you want to kind of look at, okay, where's the up and coming areas, to buy in, knowing that, man, if you buy there now, that property in a few years is gonna increase in value so much, right? And so that's kind of why we go and visit with, these economic development directors to see what's coming in these areas, right? Because, but there are some people who are very opposed to, some tertiary markets. And then I have some clients that's all they want to buy in, right? Is tertiary. So, everybody has their own, opinion of those, but, I look at a lot of those areas, because of, you know, what you can buy it for now and what it's going to be worth, 2, 3 years from now, because of everything that's going to be happening, in the city, right? There's a lot of stuff happening down in Shelbyville. There's a lot of stuff happening in Tullahoma and going to be continuing to happen, right? So those areas are going to continue to grow. Clarksville, some people are a little worried about the base up there, but there are so many other companies that are moving into Clarksville that aren't military. And so, there's just a lot of things happening in different areas. I'm a big fan of Bowling Green.
Hmm.
I think Kristen's looking at some property up there in Bowling Green. So, there's different areas that to me just have heavy growth patterns, some of them that still have um, are still increasing with rent, where, in some areas it's stabilized or maybe dropped a little bit, and so I really try to focus on those areas and properties and those, so that, it's going to be best for you as investors, right, to buy in. So
Cool. Bessie, you have your hand up.
Thanks, David, and thanks, Brian. This is very informative. A couple of questions actually to take what you just started sharing about a step further. First, with respect to the price discovery that we've been observing in the market, it feels like now for the last 2, 3 years, what is getting the sellers to move these days? I mean, I have to imagine if they have a looming maturity or if they've run out of money. Those are some pretty compelling reasons, but what else is out there that would cause them to trade an asset?
great question. Last year, probably the vast majority of all the properties we sold were because of what I call partnership divorces.
Ah, okay.
Partnerships weren't working out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, people came and going, hey, yeah, we're looking to sell, we got to sell, some of them, and then, I think right now too, that some of the sellers are going, okay, now we're a little more realistic on our price. We think interest rates are probably going to start going down. So, you know what? Let's get this let's get moving on getting our property, listed and sold. Then you have properties that also, not only do you have the partnership divorce, but you also have people that bought, properties, many years ago, and bought it with bridge debt, and their 3, 5 years is coming up. They've had their 3 years, then their 5 years, their 2 years extension is coming up. And they bought on such thin margins that, things just aren't working out,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're not able to execute on that business plan that they put together. And so, they're basically having to sell.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
And
and by the way, I love people from California. Probably 40% of the investors I work with are from California. So
thank you.
So so not
Appreciate
only are
that.
people selling their whole portfolios out there and buying here, but a lot of them are selling and moving out here. So
And moving, yeah, yes. When it comes to trading, I know volume is starting to come back up, and with it being down 80%, what was it last year? It's very difficult to find recent comps, but now with activity picking up, where do you see deals trading at in terms of cap rates, like a class A versus B versus C, saying market like a Chattanooga, Knoxville, Clarksville? Where do you see those shaking out at?
yeah. So I'm seeing deals right now. I've got a couple of properties that are under contract right now that are trading at over 7.5 cap on actuals, right? Not
Okay.
performing. This is actuals,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
I mean, I haven't seen that in, in a while, right?
Yeah.
So, now Class A, you're not going to be that high, with Class A properties.
Hmm.
You're going to be in the probably 5.5, on that.
Okay.
Class B, you're going to be probably 6.5, but there is some of the what I'd call B minus C plus type stuff that I'm seeing right now that's a little over 7.5 on actuals. So
Oh, thank you.
yep.
With that, I'm going to ask you to just open the floor up to everyone. If you have any questions for Brian, just go ahead and speak up.
Well, I'll ask another one then if nobody else will. So, are you seeing more like the 50 and under unit properties moving, or is it 100 and above? Is it institutional? What kind of characteristics are you seeing in terms of property sizes that are moving these days?
Yeah, yeah. That's an excellent question. We're seeing probably about 150 units and under, probably that 50 to 150 unit range, right? A lot of that. One of the things too is we have through one of our colleagues out in San Diego too, we have a little bit of an in with Fannie and Freddie on distressed properties. So we've done 4 broker opinion of values, BOVs, they call them, on 4 properties here in Nashville that are, now in the distressed mode. So that'll be interesting. Those are all 200 units and more. So yeah, and they're in that group that I mentioned where they bought 5 years ago and and now can't refinance. So
So I hear
and
a lot about the upcoming wave of distressed properties. Do you see that happening here?
that's a question I get asked a lot, and especially in Nashville and in Tennessee, uh, we will not see. I would say we're going to see a very limited amount of those here than elsewhere around the country. Now, what the one thing to look out for or to look for is whether this current administration decides you know, to take Fannie and Freddie, right, and privatize it, right? So, our sources at Fannie and Freddie say that if they decide to do an IP and an IPO on that, um, Fannie and Freddie is now probably between now probably the next 6 to 8 months Fannie and Freddie will probably be offloading properties that they might have been willing to work with investors on to see if maybe they could hold a little bit longer with them. Um, because they want to get that stuff off the books so that if there is this IPO, they're not sitting on the books, right? So the next 6 to 8 months, if you hear more talk about that next 6 to 8 months, I think is going to be very interesting because there could be a lot of properties, becoming available because Fannie and Freddie are going to offload them, and they're going to, meaning that the owners of those are going to have to sell.
What kind of impact would privatizing Fannie and Freddie on in terms of interest rate and loan availability?
Well, it's that's the million-dollar question, David. Because there's been this talk of having an IPO. So every major bank, right? Whether it's, president of, CEO of Bank of America or, JP Morgan or all of those guys have been at the White House because they want to finance this IPO, right? And all that kind of stuff. So as far as, but it's so much tied to, a lot of those has been tied to, the 10-year treasury and silver and that's going to be a big question. Um, I hear you hear, so-called experts thinking it's going to have an impact and others who say that it's not. So I couldn't I don't even want to give you a crystal ball on that because you hear you hear so much from each side that I don't know what that's going to do. I just know that if it does, then there's going to be. I mean, they're already they're already preparing to start offloading properties. So, and I think you're going to see properties offloaded too, David, whether or not even if it doesn't happen, IPO wise. I think you're still going to see properties being offloaded from Fannie and Freddie.
Hey, Brian, kind of ahead of that, are you seeing maybe some of these asset owners that are more open to terms, thinking that they may be jumping ahead of that? Fannie and Freddie trying to get those off the books?
Uh, not necessarily. Not necessarily. The folks that are open to terms are are the folks that have owned their property for 13 to 15 years or so and now want to sell. Those are the folks that are usually open to terms. So yeah, yeah. Because those that have to sell are not going to be open to terms because they've got to they have LPs that they've got to try to take care of and everything else. So they're not going to be that open to terms. So a lot of those that have owned them 13, 15 years, a lot of mom and pops, um, long-term owners. Those are the folks that are open to terms.
Hey, Brian, in the Tennessee market, I know in Clarksville, one, we've run into a lot of properties up there that's under affordable housing. Coming to the end of the contracts, have you seen any institutional investors or anything like that that's had trouble converting those to market?
For light tech type stuff.
Yeah.
Um, uh, we haven't. Yeah, we haven't because there's a lot of people out there wanting to buy them. So I'll tell you this on that, and why I say that is because so many of you may be familiar with NMHC, National Multifamily Housing Conference. It's last year's in Vegas, year before that in San Diego, years before that's all been in Vegas. But you know So 2 years ago, when it was in San Diego, right, and as brokers, we go and have meetings with owners of properties, but also, there's a lot of people that want to buy there as well. When it was in 2 years ago in San Diego, in the 3 days of meetings, there were probably two people that asked me about LIHTC properties. This last year in January out in Vegas, there were probably in the 3 days, there were probably only two people that didn't ask me if we could find them LIHTC properties, right? So there's a huge, and I think they, and the reason being, this is just my view, is that because a lot of properties didn't pencil, they're looking at these LIHTC properties going, okay, these actually will pencil, right? So there's big groups out of New Jersey, out of New York, a lot of those areas that they will buy any kind of LIHTC property we can find them, even if they haven't reached that year, 13, 14, 15, even if it's only year seven, they still want to buy that stuff, right? So there's a huge buyer pool for LIHTC properties out there right now.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge. I mean, most of us are, we're value add investors and looking at multifamily. And when you're looking at these properties that are like this, I mean, that's the biggest challenge when you're trying to make the numbers work. And then now you've got a long stretch and you know that you can't really adjust or do much with them. So, um,
Yeah.
and I say that because it just seems to be a tremendous amount in the Tennessee market and stuff that's under this. And it seems to be one of the largest challenges that I know. And looking at those in underwriting and stuff, it's been a real quick no for us as a group and everything else when we're looking at a lot of these properties, just because
Yeah.
there's no way of coming out of that or seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, to be able to get it to come to market without having to deal with all the red tape and challenges that go along with that property. So
Yeah. 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 Are you familiar with Amy Gray by chance? She's out of Indiana, Illinois, Indiana. That she For 26 years, she's just worked with investors who are interested in LIHTC and to really help them, make it so that there's not so much red tape to get through the process. I can send David her contact information and he can send it out. But I think for you, Jason, too, yeah, I think it'd be great for you to have a conversation with her. She's she works as a consultant, but she's spent 26 years in that LIHTC world, right? So she'll answer every and all questions you have. So
So Brian, I'll ask another question then. I don't like silence. The so what are you seeing for like the new investors that are trying to get on your short list of buyers? I
yeah,
know that you probably have a preferred uh, list for people who are looking to offload, sellers looking to offload their properties, people that you've already dealt with before. How often do you allow new and upcoming investors, like people in this group, to
yeah,
get access to those true off market deals? Because most of what we see that people say are off market just means that nobody that they wanted to buy it has purchased it. So now they're
yeah.
sending it to everyone else.
Uh, I love that question. Um, and I'll answer it this way is because, to me, I have a heart for new investors. That's just the way I am. But the one thing that I always ask of people is um, is when you contact me and that I prefer to know as much about you as possible, right? Because so I kind of jokingly say this. I probably get like two calls a week people who might just say, I'll pick on David, right? That call me and say, "Hi, my name's David. I have this, this group. We're investing in multifamily. We want to invest in Nashville. We want 50 to 100 units. We want value add. And can you just put me on your list?" And that's all they say to me, right? And so it's kind of like, how am I going to remember David from everybody else, right? So what I do is I'll ask him, if they call me, I'll say, okay. I was like, let me ask you a few questions, but then I'll ask them to send me, almost like a real estate resume, right? And the thing is even if you're brand new, you know, just I mean, some people will say, well, I'm new. I've owned maybe a duplex or single family house, or I've invested in a syndication, as an LP or something. So I'm like, that doesn't matter. It just send me who you are, kind of send me that information, because then that way I know, and yeah, and send me your criteria, kind of what you're looking for, all that. Send that to me. And then, I have a database, from the standpoint of I know, you know, that way I can look at it and I can say, okay, this is Jason. Here's his criteria. This is what he's looking for. This is what he wants. This is Nathan over here. This is what, he wants. This is Mike and Megan. This is what they want, here. And so when I get these properties too, I look and say, okay, here's the, here's the top, five, six people I think this property fits for, right? And then I'm going to send that property to you and say, hey, I think based on what I've received from you, your criteria, I think this property fits very well. I'm going to ask you, though, to respond back to me and say, you know what? Yeah, this, and this on this property fits, this and this doesn't, right? Because what I'm looking is trying to hone as much as I can of exactly what you want, right? So then, maybe come property two, I've got it down. I'm sending Jason and Nathan and, Megan and Alex, all of you, right? Exactly what you're looking for, and that way, and it helps me, helps me have a pretty good memory. Um, and so, it helps me understand because I'll remember what you're looking for, where it is. I kind of know, looking at your real estate resume, and two, on that real estate resume, put on there that you're part of this group, right? Because, what it does is if we're representing a seller, what it helps me do is be able to sell to that seller to say, hey, this is Jason, this is Nathan, this is Reggie, this is, I can say this is who they are. This is, they are experienced. They do have some experience here, and helps me sell to them why they should accept your offer. Right. So, it's basically helping me help you, right, on the offers is trying to understand, hey, here's your background, right? Um, I I was on a I was on the um oh that's the trying to the one of the big major podcasts, and they were having me talk about how to work with brokers, right? And so I was talking about it's the Old Capital podcast, the Old Capital that's out of Dallas. You may be familiar with those guys. And I was on their podcast, and they were asking me, and I was talking about this real estate resume. And and so then I had this group out of New York. They were like, they had heard me, and so they called me and said, "Hey, we heard you on this podcast. We heard you talk about this real estate resume. We're going to be flying into Nashville. We want to come and meet you, but before that, we're going to send you our real estate resume." Well, not only did they send me their real estate resume, they sent me a video of the two of those guys, basically saying, hey, you're probably wanting to know who in the world are these two people and why should you even pay attention to them and what, I mean, so they kind of made this, almost satire type video and sent it to me. But ask me if I remember who they are. Absolutely, right? I mean, it was memorable, right? I'm not asking that you have to do that. I'm just, saying that by doing the real estate resume, it lets me know who you are and what you're looking for, and because probably every one of you on here are probably looking for maybe different, size of property, different numbers of properties, maybe different areas. You might have certain criteria. I mean, I have people who will tell me, I don't want to look at any area that doesn't have a Starbucks. Okay. I mean, so, everybody has different, criteria. And so that's what I'm saying is all of that helps me know exactly what to send you, right? And helps me sell you to my seller of why, they should accept, Reggie's offer, right? Over any other offer they might be getting from somebody else, from my competition, right? So yeah, I love that. I love that question. Because I want to help you all be successful.
Great. So how soon can we send you our criteria and the whole breakdown of our team?
Yeah. Hey, you can send it to me tonight.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's
So,
that's very insightful. So thank you for that answer. It's
yeah,
very helpful.
yeah.
So I'm going to wrap this up since we're at the top of the hour. Time really flies. And one, you know, before I go into that, I really appreciate you coming on to the meeting and just sharing your knowledge and your story with us. Um, also want to kind of ask one more question. Is there anything we as a group can do to help you?
Uh, but my ask of that kind is I mean, obviously you hear of somebody selling, you're going to be contacting them, but for me, I'm all about trying to find more sellers, right? Always, always, always. So, from there, but I
Very
will,
cool.
I will leave with Jason too. When I started off this by telling you the story of somebody calling me, also have the reputation of always answering my phone. So if you want to call me at 10 o'clock tonight to test me, you can. And I guarantee you I'll be answering. So I always answer my phone whenever it is, doesn't matter. Weekends, anything. I'm just known as the guy that they can call, and actually broker that actually answers his phone, which doesn't seems pretty rare nowadays for most brokers that they don't answer their phone. But I've always been that guy. So
Now the $64,000 question is, what is your phone number and contact information?
yeah, my phone number is area code 615-260-2121. And my email address is Brian, Brian Truman, Truman, like Uncle Harry or the Truman Show or whichever, at svn.com, Sarah Victor Nancy.com. So,
And now
yeah.
that you have written it down, I'm going to let you know that I'm going to email it to you.
Well, and two, here's the thing is two, now that you have that email, I want you to send me whatever your criteria is, like you say. But the thing is then I have clients that I can, I mean, I have it on my calendar. Comes the third, I know these certain people are going to call me on the third, right? They call me every month to say, what do you have? What do you have? My joke is that if they don't call me by the third, I call them on the fourth, right? Yeah. But I tell people, call me, reach out to me. That I think there's this, I don't know if people think brokers are scary or something like that. We're really not. We're actually nice guys. And I tell people, yeah, I mean, reach out. If you want to call me, somebody said, well, instead of once a month, can I call you like twice a month? I'm like, yeah, you can call me every week if you want. I have no problem with that. So, I'm happy to chat and find out, what's going on and what you're seeing and how I can help and add value to you and all those good things. So yeah, so just be surprised if you send me something and I don't reach out to you. So
Great.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Brian, and thank you, everyone, for coming on this evening, sacrificing your time with us. Um, we'll meet again next month. I'll email you guys update of next month event. So everyone, have a good evening. We'll see you next month.
appreciate everybody's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. We appreciate it
thank you.
too.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you, everybody.